Hello, Top Fan Rivalry followers, and welcome to another edition of the Weekly Review. Jackson's in the house, Bill's in the house. We're gonna have a good time. Jackson, you ready to get it on? Are we gonna have some fun today or what?
Yeah, I mean, you and I will have fun. I don't know about the listeners. I got some hot takes today, so
I am excited to share this, share some of your opinions that you shared offline, online.
oh,
But before we get,
I have one that I didn't share with you, so I'll
uh-oh,
catch you by surprise with that one.
okay, so here we go. Let's get started. What's number one for you?
No, number one, let's talk about probably the two hottest teams in baseball, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Diego Padres.
Mhm,
Neither have lost a series since the All-Star break, and
mhm.
they have trimmed that National League West lead down to 2 games. And I'm going to caveat this with it's not that the Dodgers have been playing bad. It's just they haven't been winning 80% of their games. So the Padres and the Diamondbacks absolutely on fire. Arizona looked pretty good against Philadelphia. They dropped game 1 at home last week and then proceeded to just they walked off the second game and then they just pounded the Phillies in the last 2 games of that series. They look so good. And then the Padres are just clutch. They're down late in the game, they're coming back. And it's just it's making the wild card, it's turned the wild card upside down. It's turned the National League West into a dogfight. And you know, Bill, as a Dodgers fan, how do you feel?
Um, that's a two-part question that has many answers. There are some Dodger fans that I've talked to that feel as though they'd rather have the wild card and consistently play than the last couple of seasons where they haven't had it and been knocked out in the first round or early in the playoffs. I personally want the rest. I personally want
Yeah,
Dodgers to get the rest, but what do I know,
yeah.
right? And
It,
so that being said, do I hear footsteps? Yes. Do I think that this is I think the Dodgers are doing very, very well for the amount of injuries that they've had and what they've had to deal with. The end of the month takes the Dodgers to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I think that that's going to be, barring anything else, I think that that's going to be a huge series, absolutely huge series. So do I feel comfortable and confident where we're at right now? No, but do I think that, I mean, we got Cardinals, we got Mariners, Rays, Orioles, and then the Diamondbacks. We got a rough next
oh,
couple of
that's
weeks.
pretty rough. Yeah.
But at the same time, when you look into our schedule in September, you got Angels, Guardians, which is fine. Cubs, Braves,
Right.
then you've got um, Miami and the Rockies sandwiched in with a three-game series with the Padres at home, and then we end with the Rockies. If it comes down to the last week of the season, the last week of the season is 3 games with the Padres and 3 games with the Rockies in Colorado.
Oof.
So I don't
Yeah.
I don't have too much. I'm not too worried, but do I like where we're sitting? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And is the American or is the National League West the division to watch? I'm gonna go yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, as a Braves fan who has fallen to third, whose team has fallen to third in the wild card, it's definitely it kind of stinks that they haven't really caught up to the Phillies at all because don't want to play any of these teams in the wild card. Don't want to play San Diego. Don't want to play Arizona. If they stay this hot, it's not going to be fun. And in a short series against a team that's that riding that high, it's tough.
Well, the hard part too is baseball's a funny game. So I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. In basketball, you could have a day where you're off, right? One player, can't shoot, whatever. Usually there's some other people on the court that can pick it up. Very few times do you see a game where the entire team just was terrible, right? In football, you have so many plays that you can turn this direction or turn that direction. And in football, it comes down to mistakes, fumbles, missed field goals, things like that. In baseball, it's an entirely different sport. In a best of three series, with a team that's hot like San Diego or Arizona, you're right. You don't want to play those teams because there's nothing you can do about it, right? They just get hot and you're stuck.
Yeah. When the whole lineup's hitting like Arizona, who leads like every major offensive category since the All-Star break, what do you do? There's no break for your pitcher. It's all high stress. Your pitcher has to be perfect.
Mhm.
And in baseball, that's a really big ask for your pitcher to go out there and throw a flawless game. You know, seven shutout innings is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. And the value that the value that some teams have, like the Dodgers, the value that some teams have, like the Dodgers, is they've got a number, a number of players that are starting pitchers that won't be starting pitchers in the playoffs, won't be starting pitchers in the playoffs, but will be on the playoff roster where they will where sorry, my cat's attacking something and I got to get it away. Um, the there's a number of people that will be on the playoff roster that are starting pitchers that won't be starting pitchers. They'll be the guy that if the starting pitcher can't go more than three, boom, they're in, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's some teams that are very effective that way, very effective that way. There's other teams where that's gonna be the bane of their existence right there. So yeah, yep.
All right.
I like where you started. I'm going to give you a softball based on something that you had said. I was going to use this for number three, but I definitely want this conversation to exist. So I'm going to use it as my number one. Right now, one of the hottest teams in baseball is the Houston Astros. They are 65 and 55. They are 10 games above 500. 8-2 in their last 10, have won eight in a row. Um, Pulled away, so to speak, in the division, sort of. Right? Got a three-game lead on Seattle. So, first of all, what are your thoughts about what the Astros are doing? And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about their schedule.
I think they've kind of turned it around. I remember we were talking the first month and a half of the season that maybe the Astros were the window was shut.
Mhm.
Um, Credit, they hung in. They got all their injured guys back for the most part, and they're kind of just eight in a row's hard to do at the major league level. So I'll give them credit. Overtaking Seattle, who's a whole separate matter. I think the Mariners, they build you up and they rip you down. I'm sure all the Mariners fans will tell you that. They get you believing. But Seattle really has to do something if they want to keep the Astros within arm's reach, because this is their chance right here to get back on track. They've lost three in a row. They're playing Pittsburgh, who's lost 10 in a row. So the Mariners are kind of in a must win series here to kind of stay in there with the Astros, because I'm sure you'll talk about the schedule in a minute. The Astros got the White Sox next.
Mhm. They have the
The,
White
the
Sox at home. They got Boston at home. Then
AKA the
they,
worst team of all time.
yeah, then they're playing two very good teams on the road. They go to Baltimore for four,
Ooh,
and then they follow that up with Philly for three. Then they come home. So this is the rest of the month. So they got three with the White Sox, right? Then they get three with Boston. They get four with Baltimore. They get three with Philadelphia. And they end the month with effectively four with Seattle, with Kansas City.
ooh,
So that is a very,
that's rough.
very tough schedule. Now, here's the thing that cracks me up. On Sunday the 1st, they have a day game. Then they fly to uh, Cincinnati. They play on Monday, and then they have Tuesday off, and then they play Wednesday and Thursday in Cincinnati.
What?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It just doesn't make sense. But here's the thing that's interesting about their schedule. Once they leave Cincinnati, who, by the way, is fighting for a spot in the wild card, right? They go home to play Arizona and Oakland, and then they go back on the road for a California trip and hit the Angels and the Padres, and
Oof.
then they come home and they play the Angels and the Mariners. Their last 6 games are 3 at home with the Mariners, and they end on the road in Cleveland.
Oh, jeez.
So now
That might
Cleveland
that might be that might be a good thing, considering Cleveland has the best record in the MLB right now.
Cleveland may have clinched already by that point. I'm sure they will
Yeah.
have, but even still, it's still not good for our heroes. So that's now you had mentioned something to me offline. I'm Jackson, what did you mention when it comes to the Astros?
It will make me very unpopular. I know Big Dave will probably listen to this and send me a message on Instagram. Maybe, maybe not. But I think the Astros have played well this season. I don't like their chances against any of the three AL Central teams in the playoff picture. I just think Kansas City's a bad matchup for them. Their catcher Diaz is a really good hitter. He's not the best at throwing base runners. I think Kansas City's is a really bad mismatch in a playoff series against Houston. I think Minnesota's underrated. I think their lineup can hit with the best of them. I think their rotation's really solid. And of course, there's Cleveland, who has the best bullpen in the majors by like a whole. It's like point 0.6 or something like that. They have a point 0.6 lead in ERA. And with how many relief innings they've thrown this year, it's very impressive. So, I think the Astros kind of take care of Seattle to get into the playoffs. But if you're an Astros fan, I would be worried about playing any of those teams from the AL Central, especially if you are the third division winner, because you will have to play probably either the New York Yankees or the Twins or the Royals. I know you're not afraid of the Yankees. I didn't mention the Yankees, but I would be afraid of those Kansas City or Minnesota in a short series.
Yeah, in the best of 3 series for sure. So,
Yeah.
okay, what do you got for your number 2?
My number two,
Hmm.
I'll head back to the National League. Something we talked about online is the Pirates are offline. The Pirates have lost 10 in a row.
Hmm.
So that means Paul Skeens is probably going to be on an innings limit, which might knock him out of the Rookie of the Year race. And my pick for the Rookie of the Year might not be the one you think it is. You're probably thinking of Jackson Merrill. I'm going to go with the other Jackson, Jackson Chorio of the Milwaukee Brewers, is going to win Rookie of the Year. Let me tell you why, Bill. His second half stats, he's rocking at 1,000 OPS,
Okay.
and he's just looked better. Let me tell you, I watched him when Milwaukee played Atlanta last week in the first 3 games, and they absolutely destroyed him. Churio was at the top of that. He looks like the promised prospect that they were hoping to call up, and he's really improved his on base skills. He's got a 396 on base percentage in the second half, a 604 slugging, and he just looks like he's gotten better every month of the season. He has improved his OPS. I think on a Milwaukee team that's going to win the division, if he continues on this tear, he doesn't need to be at 1,000 OPS, but if he continues on this tear and finishes with a OPS of like 800, 830, he can win Rookie of the Year over Jackson Merrill, who's been a little bit more spotty. Was not that
Okay.
great the first 2 months of the year, and then good in June, bad in July, good in August. So it's really up and down for Merrill, and
Mhm.
he's going to have to keep it up. Otherwise, Churrio's going to come out of nowhere and maybe just steal that Rookie of the Year. He might hit 25 home runs and steal 25 bases as a rookie. A
Yeah.
20-year-old rookie, Bill. Churrio's only 20 years old. Crazy.
Mhm. Yep. 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 He and who does he play for?
Plays for those Milwaukee Brewers.
Hmm. Exactly. And they are having a very, very good season. They're putting a very good season together. By the way, all the best, Christian Yelich, who is now out with season-ending back surgery. Wish you a speedy recovery. Hopefully, he can get back to the MLB soon.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't end his career because Yelich is a good player when he's healthy. He's one of those guys, if he had stayed healthy his whole career, we'd be talking borderline Hall of Famer
Yeah,
with the kind of
yeah,
talent he's got.
yep, 100%, 100%. Okay, my number 2 is I'm going to stay in the AL West.
All right.
The Seattle Mariners. Now, I've got family live up in Seattle. Seattle Mariners have not won a division since 2001. It is pretty safe to say, based on the Minnesota Twins that you had mentioned, the Kansas City Royals that you mentioned, the way that the Orioles are playing, the way that the Yankees are playing, the way that Boston's playing, that it's either win or go home in the American League West. So Seattle's got to turn it around. They lost all three games in Detroit to a very bad Detroit team. So uh you got to turn around. Now they have the Pirates this weekend, right? And so take two out of three. Then they come to the Ravine and they play the 2024 World Champion Los Angeles Dodgers. So that's gonna be a little difficult in them. Uh, then you have the Giants in Tampa Bay, right? Tampa Bay is quote unquote making a splash, but it's a little too late. Then they come to Anaheim. Listen to their schedule in September. They have one game with Anaheim to start the, you know, wrap around, right? Then they got four in Oakland, three with the Cardinals in St. Louis. Now, the Cardinals, like you have mentioned, may be heading in the wrong direction. They go home. They have two with San Diego, four with the Rangers. By the time that they hit the Rangers, it'll be September 12th. The Rangers effectively be gone, right? Then they got the Yankees. Then they go on the road to Texas. They go to the Rangers, and then they go to the Astros. They finish the season out with the A's. So we might see the division come down to that last week of the season where the um, where the Astros and the Mariners have those three games with each other, September 23rd, 24th, and 25th, followed by the A's on the 27th, 28th, 29th. What do you think?
Ugh. That's a rough schedule. And Seattle's just got a hit. Let me tell you, Bill. Seattle's just got a hit.
Mhm.
Their pitching is so good, they need 3 to 4 runs a night to win ball games. But that's been the problem for Seattle for the past 4 years, you know? This trade deadline, they went out and got Randy Arozarena. They went out and got some bats, and it still hasn't helped because of the inconsistencies of offense. Seattle needs to hit, or they're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, and you saw this week Skubal go up against Kirby, and Kirby just absolutely got shelled. It was a bad day for him,
Yeah,
which bad days happen, right? Let's not make it an international event. Bad days happen, but you're right, they're not hitting. I mean,
yeah.
they're
Look at the other two games. They got quality starts in the other two games. They lost them both.
mhm.
That can't happen.
Nope, 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 no. So that's my number two. I though I think the National League West is becoming the division to watch because you have three very hot teams between the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks. To me, to me, it's at this division though with the Astros and the Mariners is also incredibly exciting to watch. Um, hot take: if the Astros stay playing Astros baseball, they're just going to extend that lead. They're probably going to win it by 6 or 7 games. But do I think that Seattle can come back? Do I think that Seattle could make it interesting? And do I think that Seattle could win the division? Absolutely. But you've got to, they had a week there where they should have taken, they got three with Pirates, they got a struggling Pirates team, and they had three with the Tigers. They needed to take two out of three from the Tigers. If
Yeah,
they take two out of three from the Tigers, they're only a game out of first place. So,
yeah. It's stuff like that. You got to beat the teams you should beat, but
hmm,
you know, you also you got to score, man. I think that's the most frustrating thing about the Mariners is they just don't score. You go out and every night you hear,
100%.
Bryce Miller threw 7 innings, gave up 2 hits, 1 run, struck out 11 as the Mariners lose 4-1. It's like, really? Come on.
Yep,
Or 3-1.
yep,
It's like, come on.
yep, 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 yep. Okay, what do you got for your number three?
Probably my hottest take of all. You ready for this, Bill?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
The team with the best record currently in the National League is not going to get a first round bye. The Philadelphia Phillies are in free fall, Bill.
Okay. All right. This is a hot take,
They
everybody.
are,
Don't at Jackson. It's just his
yeah,
opinion, but go
yeah.
ahead. Hot take.
They've been one of the three worst teams in the MLB since the All Star break. You could say two because the White Sox don't really count because they're not trying to win. Um, but they're not as it's true. It's true, Bill. It look, I'm not trying to take shots at the White Sox fan base. They know their owner sucks. Their management sucks. They're not trying to win. Look at the team they put on the field this year.
Mhm.
Disgraceful. But the Phillies are 9-16 since the All-Star break. Um, they've won two in a row. They beat Miami, then they beat Washington. But let me read you the schedule off for you, Bill, to end this season.
Okay.
3 at home against Washington. Then they got to head down to Atlanta and play 3. 3 at Kansas City. Then the
Mhm.
Astros come into town for 3. And then the Braves come into the town for 4. Then they have to go up to Toronto, down to Miami, Tampa Bay. And this is the part where it gets really sketchy in September. 3 at home against the Mets. Then they have to go to Milwaukee, play the Brewers, and then 4 in New York against the Mets.
Yeah, that's
Before ending with
it.
the Cubs and the Nationals.
Yeah, it doesn't get easier for them for sure, but
They haven't been playing good team baseball. They've gotten away from what made them good in the first half. And I think with this tough schedule, I'm not saying they're gonna like miss the playoffs or anything. My hot take is I think whoever is in first place in the National League West, whether it be the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, or the Padres, and the Milwaukee Brewers will finish with a better record than the Philadelphia Phillies. So it's like hot.
interesting.
It's
I
hot, but it's not like sizzling, you know?
No, interesting. I actually like this take. This is a very, 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 I'm gonna say this unique take. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it,
Yeah.
Jackson.
And let me tell you, the way the Phillies have been playing in the second half, they do not want to play in the wild card round. We've mentioned it, 100 times on this podcast already. You do not want to play a wild card team who's had to fight tooth and nail to get into the wild card and who's hot, as a division winner. You do not. You want to avoid that at all costs. 3 games can, erase a whole season of success. 162 games of success. So, but that's my hot take. I think Philadelphia, as they are playing right now, are not going to be the best team in the National League. They're not going to get a bye either.
Okay, okay. I like the direction that you're going with that for sure. I don't know. That's a hard call, Jackson. I like it, but it's a hard call. Mm.
You can tell me I'm wrong, but I just have this feeling, man.
No, no.
It's a
Uh,
it's a tough schedule at the end of the year.
yeah, yeah. Um, Interesting. Yeah, no, I can see that going that direction, Jackson. I honestly can. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious which. So some of those teams may be out. Like we're talking about this on the 16th of August, and we're thinking, oh, the Mets.
Yeah.
Well, if the Mets don't turn it around, they may be out of it by that
That doesn't make their lineup any worse, Bill. It's not like they're going
time.
to trade anyone away. And the Mets hate the Phillies, so they're going to show up and try to beat Philadelphia.
It's
You can't discount division games in September. I know it says Miami on the schedule. I know the Marlins are the worst team in the National League. But let me
okay.
tell you, Miami's going to show up and they're going to play.
Yep, yep, yep. All right. So my number three, I like this hot take. My number three is just I have to throw in some stats here at some point because I do every week. So obviously Bobby Witt Jr.'s got 168 hits. He's leading the MLB in hits. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is behind him by 18 hits. This is obviously the best season that Bobby Witt Jr. has had. 33 doubles, 11 triples, 24 home runs, 89 RBIs. He's hitting 349. Probably not going to win the MVP. That's probably going to go to Aaron Judge, who's got 43 home runs, who will end the season probably with 55 to 60 home runs. So it's unfortunate. But um, who is the uh, do we see Shohei Ohtani? Let's go to Shohei for a second. Do we see Shohei Ohtani being a 50-50 guy, or is it just are we stopping at 40-40?
I think he wants 50-50, but my question is how much are the Dodgers going to let him run down the stretch?
Right. So he's got 35 stolen bases right now, and he's got 37 home runs. Do I think he can hit 13 home runs in the next 40 games?
Yes,
Probably.
probably.
Um,
Good bet. If I was the gambling man, I'd probably bet on that.
Now, I was at a game where Shohei stole three bases. Okay. He just gets on and he looks to move the runners over now, or I mean to move himself over. Now, with Mookie coming back into the lineup and Freddie healthy and back in the lineup and Teoscar doing Teoscar things, right? Um, it depends, right? You don't want to run
Yeah.
yourself out of an inning. But I like Shohei. I would prefer to see Shohei as the number two batter, not the leadoff batter. Do I think he's got a shot though for 50-50? I do. Do I think he's going to get there? Probably not. He'll
Yeah.
probably end the season with 53, 54 home runs. He'll probably end the season with about 46 to 47 stolen bases. I don't know that he's going to get 15 stolen bases in the next 40 games. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. My whole thing is if you're the Dodgers and you just got your lineup healthy, everyone's back, you know? And
Hmm.
in September, how much are you going to let Shohei Ohtani potentially risk injury by stealing bases?
Now, let me ask you, there's a lot of guys who deserving of the MVP in the National League and the American League. Is Shohei running away with it as a 40-40 guy? Is he running away with it?
I feel like he is. I wrote an article, which you guys can look at in the locker room this last Monday, about how I think if the Diamondbacks can somehow take this division and Ketel Marte can stay white hot, Ketel Marte is probably the best shot to win the National League MVP outside of Shohei Ohtani. But again, if I think Ohtani gets that like 40-40,
Mhm.
45-45, it's probably, with the amount of injuries the Dodgers have had and the Dodgers win the division, it's probably the easiest MVP vote since
Mhm.
last year.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so
And by the way, did you know that Alec Bohm has 43 doubles this season?
I do. I did know that.
I mean, he's and William Contreras has 32 as a catcher.
Yeah, William Contreras has been crazy as a catcher from Milwaukee this year.
He has been. He has been.
But yeah,
But
a
go
lot
ahead.
of the candidates has just been really good. I don't think there's anyone who you'd sit and go, Otani's probably, if you looked at how I look at MVPs, if I was looking at the most key part of the team, like if I were to take a player away, like would this team be borderline worst team in baseball? I don't think any of the guys behind Otani really classify as that. So then you just go to best individual stats at that point,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
and it's
Agreed.
probably Shohei Otani if
Agreed.
he keeps up his pace.
Agreed. 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 Okay, Jackson, that was my number three. What do you have for honorable mentions?
My honorable mention is that both Tariq Skubal and Chris Sale are in the mix to win the pitching triple crown in the American League and National League, and that's just your fun fact. And I'm not sure how many times that's been done. I can get back to you on that. But it was just a thought I had when you mentioned Tariq Skubal a few minutes ago, where I was like, huh, there, you know. But yeah, this Skubal is like two strikeouts away from leading the MLB for the pitching triple crown, which hasn't been done. I want to say in like at least 40 years. So those are two guys to watch down the stretch. Two really dominant pitchers, two left-handers. The lefties are making a comeback, Bill.
Don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years, right?
Yeah,
Um, so the only honorable mention that I have is boys will be boys, right? And in the MLB, you have a situation where you know guys say things, and they say things in essence that maybe when other people hear them, they're not awesome, right? If you've ever been in a locker room, there's a reason why they term it locker room talk, because
and
it's not made for
they
Disney.
yeah they don't really interview in the locker room either.
Yeah, and so, but that doesn't apply to the fans. And so, I'm speaking of one individual. Watch yourselves, players, when you're speaking to the fans. What you might say in the locker room in the comfort of your teammates is might not be appropriate to say in front of fans. and I'm referencing one player who got suspended by his organization for 2 games for saying something he probably shouldn't have, right? And we're seeing the pressure of the game is enough. When you're playing for a team that's trying to make a stretch run and trying to get in, that pressure is also there. Just be careful. I mean, we saw Anthony Rendon last year try to play Mike Tyson with the guy in the stands. Um, like certain things, just you're a public figure. You're very like you're on TV. It's not like you can hide from people. It's not like you're on radio. You're on TV. You're on TV. You have kids. You have parents like screaming your name, wanting things from you, and every single day. And I can understand it could get old, but you got to
Yeah,
be careful.
yeah. And I'm going to piggyback on that and go to the fans. These are human beings playing the game.
Correct.
You when you heckle someone, keep it lighthearted, keep it fun.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should never be personally attacking people or their families. You should never be, lacing profanity at players, even if you don't like them.
Yeah.
At the end
Correct.
of the day, they're human beings too. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect. I know everybody hates that. That's an unwritten rule of baseball that you have to treat the umpire with respect or get ejected. That's just kind of how it goes. I think it should go for everyone involved in baseball. It's a game
Yeah.
of respect. This is a gentleman's sport,
Correct.
a gentle person's sport. So everyone
Correct.
should show up with the expectation of being respected and being respectful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I hear sometimes I've heard people say, well, they make so much money, it doesn't matter. No, 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 no. They're human beings. It doesn't matter what their bank account looks like. Oh, they should put up with it.
No,
Oh, okay. So would you put up with it if somebody came to your job every day and said, "Oh, this project was due, but you misspelled these 4 words. You're out of here," type thing or something
yeah,
like that. I mean,
yeah,
I think of the Jerry Seinfeld episode where the um where the one of Kramer's girlfriends was heckling Jerry, so Jerry went down to her office and heckled her.
yeah.
Right. Anyways, these guys are human beings. Treat them with respect. Players,
Same
you
thing.
have a lot to lose. Don't be baited into conversations. You have a lot.
Yeah. Remember, those people in the stands are probably drunk. You're playing a game. You're the
Yeah,
real winner there.
yeah, exactly. So, well, Top Fan Rivalry followers, we've got one in the books for you already. Last night we had an amazing event. We had a girls' night in, first ever private event that Top Fan Rivalry has done. It was a ladies' night in. It was a locker room only event. So if you don't have a locker room, well, you may not appreciate the content that we put out. That's fine. But you want to come to these private events. We had 16 or 18 ladies on a Zoom meeting, and one lady talked about working in sports, the other one talked about how they like doll up for games and things like that. They talked whatever. I wasn't even invited, Jackson, to it, but it was amazing. So Jackson, here's the thing. We need everybody to go out and get a locker room so that it's not only is it a part of a community thing, but it's a community-based thing that makes sense. Everybody wants a community. You get it. You get invited to these things. So, Jackson, what code do they use?
Use code Jackson. It'll get you 10% off getting into that locker room. You will get access to articles that I write, other people write. People with better takes than me sometimes. Probably most of the time. But you can get in, you read articles, we have a ton of other podcasts for a variety of different topics. You can just hop on, and just yeah, it's fun to have stuff to listen to. I always listen to podcasts while I'm working out at the gym. Everyone else is listening to their music, getting all hyped up. I got a podcast on in the background.
Yeah, yeah. Love it. Love it. Jackson, let's do it again next week.
All
That's
right.
why it's
So,
called the weekly review.
yep.
Talk to you next week.